Welcome to Inside Independent Publishing with IBPA. I'm your host, Christopher Locke. I'm also the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services. Okay, so the question that IBPA staff probably gets asked the most by publishers is, how do I sell more books? We are always happy to help here at IBPA. So I invited IBPA's Chief Content Officer, Lee Wind, on the podcast today to share advice on the most effective and ineffective book marketing tactics, including how can you get your book vetted so bookstores, librarians, and consumers will be more likely to buy it, how you can make your books more discoverable to buyers, how you should successfully market your books pre-publication, during the launch, and post-publication. All right, Lee, let's get started. You know what? Let me start by saying this. I am very honored to work with you in general. I hear you talking to members all the time, and you give them great advice, which is why I was like, we should just have you on the show. So that way, just one spot where you're sharing all your great advice.
Great. I'm really happy to be here. And we are a nonprofit. I think it's really important to share that, like, we want our members to succeed. And so the cool thing about both you and I being authors, in addition to our day jobs, is that we kind of, we're able to kind of test it out, right? Like we do these programs for our own books. So, and if there's something that I wouldn't spend my money on, I generally don't want to put it in front of IBPA members for them to spend their money on. Because if I don't think it's worthwhile, we're not going to have it as a program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, so I want to start with kind of a general concept, because I've heard you talk about this before. There's this audience concept that you share. I wanted to see, can you share what is this audience 1, 2, and 3 concept?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not my original concept. This was Paige Velasquez-Buddy and Rusty Shelton. They did a webinar for IBPA, and they're sort of PR professionals, and they were talking about it. And it has been the most resonant metaphor for me in terms of book marketing. So the idea is, imagine there's a stadium, and outside the stadium are all the people that might benefit from your book, that might love your book. And then imagine that the people inside the stadium are the people that already are part of your sort of universe. You have them on your mailing list, or in some other way they follow you on social media. In some way they already know about you. You're a known entity to them, but they don't yet have your book. And then there's, like, on the stage, imagine the stadium is set up for a concert. You are up on the stage, and there is a crowd of people up on the stage with you, and they already have your book and they love it. So hopefully they love it. So basically there are sort of 3 audiences. The audience 3 are the people outside the stadium. Audience 2 are the people inside the stadium. Audience 1 are the people on stage with you.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake that we see people make is that they are talking to audience 3, people who have never heard about them or their book. And their call to action is, buy my book. Mm. This is trying to make an audience 3 person become an audience 1 person, which skips the intermediate step of audience 2. Mm-hmm. And there's this old adage in marketing about, like, people have to see something 7 times before they're kind of like, okay, fine, I'll look at it or I'll try it. It is an incredibly difficult ask to go from 3 to 1. What you want to do is you want to get 3 to go inside the stadium. An audience 3 person, they don't know about you, they've never heard about your book, but they're interested in what you're talking about. You want to get them to be part of your universe of people. You want them to come into the stadium. And then once they're in the stadium, it's a different ask. You're targeting those people, building that relationship with them so they eventually come up on stage and get your book and be with you. And then there are some other ways that we can kind of have fun with that metaphor, that, like, you want to get the people that really love your book to be your super fans and help spread the word. But the biggest mistake that I see is this, like, I'm going to pay someone to, a crazy amount of money to do ads on some social media platform to people that have never heard about me, and I want them to buy my book. And then people see incredibly low click rates and incredibly low, conversion rates, and it's because it's the wrong ask.
Yeah, well, and I do want to, go into that concept of exposure for your books versus actual book sales. And I think that part of it is expectations and understanding, oh, well, this is a good thing to do, but for exposure and not necessarily for book sales. So I know something that you talk about is emphasizing building your community. So I wanted to ask, what do you think are effective ways to build this community of people?
I love the idea that, like, if back of the envelope formula for publishing is IP, your idea, your intellectual property,
Mhm.
plus community equals successful publishing.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds incredibly reductive, but go with me for a second on this. Like, truly, like, if you just have an idea but no audience, you don't have a publishing business. You're not in business. You're maybe an author, but like, I'm an author, you're an author, Christopher. It's like,
Mhm.
we want people to read our books. We want
Mhm.
our books to have an impact. Having a community and no books, well, I mean, there are a lot of people that are in that position, and maybe they're hoping that it will lead to a book deal at some point. But like, you have to have something you want to say. You have to have a book. You have to have something that's of value. So, it is sort of like nurturing that. You have to pursue two things at once, right? You have to pursue the quality of the book or the books, and you have to pursue building an audience, building a community for that book. And sometimes you ask someone who is the book for, and they'll be like, it's for everybody.
Mhm.
And that means it's actually for nobody. I don't get mad at me, but like, truly, if like, think about it, you cannot reach everybody. It's just there are millions. I think the last number I heard was there were over 4 million books published in the US last year.
Mhm.
Like, that is a lot of books. That is a lot of noise. And if you want to kind of like get a chance to rise above that and get your book discovered, there are a bunch of things that you need to do. And first of all is like, you're going to, like, if you have a niche or a niche, that is actually really great. Like, Christopher, your books, I mean, I don't know if you want to give a quick pitch, but it's all about, like, like animals like, it's about animal rights, right? And
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
being a vegan, and like, really, it's these adventure stories for teens. I don't know, why am I pitching your books?
Yeah, it's great. Keep on.
But you do a bit, no, but they're great. And there's this incredible niche that you're able to lean into. My books, pretty similarly, like, I write books to empower queer kids and teens and their allies. And so like my YA action adventure novels, like that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Mhm.
like the centering two gay teens who are, falling in love as the heroes of an action adventure story while riffing on James Bond movies. Like, that's my pitch. That's my audience. The people that love James Bond, the people that want to see, queer heroes. Like,
Mhm.
it's a really good niche. And yeah, sure. Do I hope that, some other people outside of that, that target audience will read it? Absolutely. That would be amazing. But I can't market to everybody.
Mhm.
It's just not, it doesn't really work that way. And I think that if you can identify your niche and really lean into it, that can be the way that then you become a crossover success. If you kind of like, it's like that idea, like, you think globally, but you have to start locally.
Mhm.
With marketing, you really need to start with your niche. Like, who are the people that read your stuff? And if you can Venn diagram it even tighter, who are the people that like teen novels but are also interested in vegan stuff? Or who are the people that like teen novels and are also interested in, James Bond action adventure movies? Like, then you start to get like, and also that's all how you get media attention too. That really helps, because like, there's a hook. And Christopher, you do like festivals, right? Like, there
Mhm.
are festivals for people that are interested in that stuff, and showing up at a festival where you're one of a few books being sold there is probably an easier sell than showing up at like the LA Times Festival of Books, where there are, hundreds and thousands of books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get into the in-person events. Absolutely, those are great. So I know that building your email list is something in terms of building your community. I know that's something that you say is good. Another thing is you mentioned creating a Substack account. I actually don't know much about Substack, but maybe that's something you can tell people. Like, well, how is that helpful?
Substack is sort of the new blogging.
Mm,
It's a way. So there's a lot of people trying to figure out like how do we monetize the stuff we're putting out. So back in the day, I started out blogging about children's literature stuff. I have a blog called I'm Here, I'm Queer, What the Hell Do I Read? I started it over 15 years ago when blogging was the thing,
mm,
or like on the early tide of blogging. I blogged for years for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. Substack is sort of like the new blogging. It's a newsletter that people sign up for, and then there's like a tip jar, or you can sign up for like the paid version of someone's newsletter on Substack. It's a little bit similar in concept to Patreon, where people can, basically the idea is to sort of crowdsource patronage and be like, I like this person and what they're doing. I'm going to give them $5 a month. And that is going to give me access to this super special level of the stuff they're doing. I will say that there's a lot of time that you can spend on creating content. And two thoughts. If you're having your AI create your content, I don't want to read it. I'll have my AI read it.
yeah.
Second thought is, be aware that if you spend too much time creating ancillary content, you still have to write your books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it's great to have content to build a community, but you can't lose sight of the fact that you still need to be like putting books out in the world, or it's just, or maybe you don't want to. I mean, but if you're here and you're listening to this podcast, you probably do want to publish books.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the explanation about Substack. So I wanted to go into all the different levels. So pre-publication, launch, post-publication. Let's start obviously with pre-publication. Do you generally agree you should probably start maybe 6 months before the publication date with these various tactics we're about to talk about for pre-publication?
At minimum, yeah. I think, as early as you can. I just want to circle back on one thing about having an email list. The reason it's not sufficient to just have a big following on social media or a medium following or whatever following is that social media you don't control. I worked for years to get a following, which I thought was kind of big at the time, of 2,000 people on Facebook. And then Meta changed the rules 8 years ago. And suddenly, rather than all those people seeing my post come up in their feed, about 12 people saw it. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, you want those other 1,980 some people to see it? Then pay us. And you can boost your post. And then we'll share it with the people that already said that they were interested in what you're doing. And I was like, I said some words that I won't say here, but I was kind of upset because I felt like that wasn't fair. They changed the rules on me. And then I realized, I don't actually have a way of contacting any of those people independently. I don't have any control. It's not my platform. And, the platforms are making the money. So I thought, well, okay, this is where I need to start building an email list. Then I didn't have anybody on my email list. I think I had 20 people on my email list at that point. And I was like, oh, well, I need to prioritize this. So now my email list is about 2,500 people. And, I know that's not huge, but at least I control it. And yes, people unsubscribe and people subscribe all the time. And there's always a bit of churn on the list. But pretty consistently, when I send out my monthly newsletter update about the queer books I've read that are kidlit that I thought were great, updates on my writing and books and stuff like that that I've been doing, I send it out to a list that I control. And I think that similarly, that's really important for publishers that are listening to this. Whether you're an author publisher or an indie publisher, having a list of your own that you control is gold. And that, I think, should be your focus. That for me, that is my focus of audience too. I try to, people that don't know about me, I invite them, go to leewin.org, sign up for my newsletter. You'll get an email once a month with some cool things. And then that's sort of the audience that is already interested in me. And hopefully that will lead to people buying my books when I have a new book come out.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked before about this concept. When you're in pre-publication, one of the important things is getting your book vetted. And it's the idea of making sure that people see this book and already there's groups of people that go, this is good. So there's some strategies, and we can go through each one, but trade reviews, consumer reviews, blurbs, book awards, and media coverage. So let's start with trade reviews. We don't have time to go through, like 20 minutes on each one, but, can you just generally say, like, what's important about a trade review? What is it? How does it help you with marketing your book and vetting it?
Sure. The biggest challenge that we have as author publishers or indie publishers is that we need somebody else to say the book is worthwhile, because we don't have necessarily the gravitas of being a huge corporate publisher that everybody's assuming that the quality is going to be incredible. Mind you, the big corporate publishers put out stuff that isn't incredible, as well as some books that are incredible. Mm-hmm. But until you've built your brand and it is recognizable, and people are like, oh, that publisher, they've won lots of awards, or they have lots of bestsellers. The hurdle is that, this is a two-edged sword, right? No consumer, it is the rare consumer that is turning to the copyright page and looking to see who published the book, right? So that's an incredible opportunity for indie publishers, because if the quality is there, the audience is already on board. But how do they know that it's a risk worth taking? And especially in the trade, for booksellers, for librarians, if you are interested in stuff that's beyond just direct to consumer, trade book reviews become really important. There are only a handful of them. I think it's like 8 that do these reviews, and these reviews are syndicated to all the online platforms that sell books. And it comes up in a different spot, like it comes up in editorial reviews. And that becomes really important proof that your book has value. And it isn't just you saying it because you're the author or that you're the publisher or you're both. It is, look, this other source that is really well respected in our industry is saying this book is worth your time. And if you can get a bunch of them, all the better. And the reason that 4 to 6 months, I'm saying even earlier, is because to submit your book for a trade review that's editorial, they require you to do it 4 months in advance. There are paid trade reviews, like Kirkus is a great example. A lot of IBPA, we have a lot of discounts for people to do some of the other trade reviews. PW has an option for paid. Forward Reviews has an option for paid. But honestly, try for editorial. But you can also pay to get an editorial review, and they're not going to make it a nice review because you paid them. Some of them are really harsh, and you can also kill a review if you've paid to have it done. But a trade review makes a big impact. And honestly, if it's a good trade review, if there's a good sentence from it, as a publisher, you can leverage that for marketing. My YA novel that came out last year got a really great review from Kirkus, and they put the blurb from Kirkus, positively thrilling, on the cover when they did the second edition of it. Not second edition, when they reprinted it, when they went back for reprints, because it was really a great line. And it was very much like Bond, James Bond, thrilling, positively thrilling. They got it, and it was a really great line. And so anyway, so that really helps. So trade reviews are really important. There was a big article in Publishers Weekly about blurbs, and one of the big corporate publishers was like, we're not going to do blurbs anymore. Well, they can get away with not doing it because they're a big famous corporate publisher. We still should be doing blurbs, I think. I think indies should be spending the time to get either an expert in the field or someone that's recognizable as another author in that area to do a blurb. It helps, especially before you have trade reviews. It's like you're trying to build momentum for your book and social and proof that it is worthwhile. And be thoughtful and careful. Like, I've had people reach out to me, would I blurb their book? And I have to think about me as an author, my brand as an author, and say no. I say no most of the time. Because first of all, it's a big ask. You're asking someone to read your book. And if it's not a picture book, that's a big time commitment. But the other piece of it is that, does this person align? Is their readership the same as your readership? Like, don't ask me to, blurb your adult steamy romance. Like, that's not my audience. Like,
Mhm.
that's not what I do. I write books for kids.
Mhm.
Like, be thoughtful when you're asking and give those blurbers a lot of time. It's a big time commitment and a big ask. So
Well,
this,
people can reach out to me asking me to read their steamy adult romance. I'll blurb those. I want to make sure we don't run out of time. So consumer reviews. So this is different from a trade review. Those
right.
are
This is just
companies.
regular people that love books that thought your book was great, and this is like what populates all those online retailer sites.
Hmm.
And in fact, some of them, like Amazon, it ends up being really important. Do you have enough trade? Do you have enough reader reviews that are, because other parts of the industry look to your book's Amazon listing as proof that it's worth their while to let you do promotions on their platforms, which steams me, but that's how it works. So like BookBub, it turns out you can't actually get a BookBub deal unless you have, I think it's 20 consumer reviews on your book on Amazon, which is crazy because those companies aren't even related, but it's one of the difficult realities of what we're doing. So yes, consumer reviews are important and people really care about, well, what did other people think?
Well, and you mentioned the email list, and I'll say this is a great place to get those consumer reviews where you have these people that you have told you they love your stuff and want to hear about more, reaching out to them and saying, in advance of a book, hey, this is going to be coming out. I'm going to have you all be my first readers, but in exchange, hopefully, could you please leave a review, make it an honest review? But so that's helpful. There's also NetGalley's a program that's we run, but it's a completely separate company. But it's a really great place to get consumer reviews. You wanted to mention something?
I want to just say that people think that when they're asked to do a review of a book, that they have to write a book report. And that's really not it. Literally one sentence. I thought this was great. I fell in love with the characters. Like that would be amazing, right? Give it as many stars as you want. But like the ask is not as big as people think. It sounds like you want me to write in it a plot summary. And no, we just need that one line. Thrilling, positively thrilling. Like that's
Yeah.
all you need.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got a lot to cover. So I want to, very quickly, we can do book awards, but you run the media outreach program. So I do want to make sure we get to the media. So quickly, in terms of book awards, what do you have advice for people in terms of like, how effective are they in terms of getting exposure for your book? How many should you get?
Right. Well, you're not going to get a book award pre-publication. That's not
Hmm.
generally how awards work. So
Hmm.
awards are kind of like the next round after you've done, your trade reviews, your reader review. You've gotten your blurbs early. I think it goes blurbs, then submit for editorial reviews, then consumer reviews, and then you go for awards. Just because the cycle is late, like you can't submit for an award until the year generally has passed in terms of publishing it. It can help. I think it's a lot of people like being able to say award-winning author. It makes people look good. There are a lot of awards that are not worth the paper bag that they're carried in. Be thoughtful. You should check out Ally. They're a great organization that IBPA does some stuff with. They have a big list of sort of like vetted awards and those that are less than vetted. And spend your money carefully. I do know that there are book awards that my publishers don't submit to because they require an entry fee, and then I have submitted on my own behalf. I guess also on their behalf. And like one of my books was a finalist in the Lambda Literary Awards, and that was because I submitted it for it, and I paid the $60 entry fee because it was worth it to me. Like that's a cool thing, and I thought it was a good shot, but that wasn't their policy to do so, but I still did it.
Yeah, and to that point, a lot of them, and look, they read the books. Like it takes time. I mean, we run a book award program ourselves. It takes a lot of effort to put it together, so they do cost money a lot of times. But like you were saying, you have limited funds for your budget. So you should really be picky about which awards that you're applying for, and keep in mind that if you're looking for exposure versus book sales and all that, in terms of like sales, getting a book award isn't going to like necessarily immediately get you 7,000 sales, right? there are other better ways to get book sales. So just keep that in mind. I get a lot of people asking, I applied to like 20 awards, and I'm like, I think you should have, applied to a lot less and really focus. But
just keep in mind that it's super subjective. Like, it doesn't mean if you don't win the award, it doesn't mean your book wasn't good.
Yeah,
It's lovely to be a finalist. My book didn't win that award, but it was a finalist, and that's cool, and that helps with discoverability. But yeah, like don't take it too personally.
Yeah, so you run the media outreach program. Media coverage is certainly an area that I wanted to ask you about. So, in general, like if you're looking to get media coverage, what do you think is a good way to encourage all these different media outlets to actually want to cover your book?
Your book is not the news. It is not news that you published a book. That is not newsworthy. There are 4 million books published in the US every year. So once you've recognized that, you need to figure out, well, what is your hook? What is your book about? How does it help? What is the story behind the story of you writing and or publishing this book? Like, that could be a media hook. Like, you just have to think about it from the media's perspective. When you see an article, and not celebrity books don't count, but when you see an article about a book, when you listen to an interview with an author about a book, like, unless they are high powered, like, there is usually a reason that they have this person on their show, or they're interviewing them, or they're featuring them in some other way. There are some media opportunities that are pay to play. That is not generally what I'm not interested in it, and I don't want to promote that for IBPA members. But like, there are some cool like Q&A things that different outlets that do reviews do. Again, think about who your audience is. A lot of times people don't want to do the work on figuring out like, where are their audiences, right? Like, the difference between marketing and PR is that with marketing, you're building your own list. You're building your own community. With PR, you're getting in front of other people's community. Like right now, this is a mix, right? Like, Christopher, this is your podcast, right? This is the IBPA podcast. Yeah, you're the host. And so like, this is sort of your audience, right? In a funny way, it's a little bit of my audience too, because I work for IBPA. So, but I've mentioned that I'm an author. Many people listening to this probably don't know that I'm an author. So in a funny way, like, this is PR for me as an author, even though I'm talking about marketing and books. So it's like, if I'm getting in front of another audience that I don't normally have, that's PR. So like, I'm going to be on, Familius's podcast in early 2026. They're one of IBPA's publishers. That's PR. Right. I mean, we're talking about other things, but I'm sure it'll come up that I'm an author because, it's one of the hats I wear. So with media, it's like you're trying to get in front of their audience and hope that they do a review, or that otherwise, if they're doing a list or some other editorial coverage of something, that they'll include your book. So the media outreach program that IBPA runs is basically that's the idea. We're pitching them, get a free review copy for, a chance to hopefully get an editorial review or coverage. PR companies are very expensive. Generally, they want like multi-month contracts, and it's thousands of dollars a month. So we, like all the things with IBPA, we try to democratize it and make it less expensive, because we're sharing the expense across a whole bunch of publishers. But the most important thing is like, what's your angle? Like, and if it's fiction, it's probably going to be the story behind the story, like why you wrote it, why you are choosing to publish it. Think about what makes what you're doing newsworthy.
Awesome. So I do want to get to discoverability. So there's a few options. We won't get to all of them, but I can mention them. One's trade advertising. So remember, we mentioned the trade reviews. So these are trade publications like Publishers Weekly, Ford Reviews, and all those. Consumer advertising, so social media and all that. And then there's library marketing and bookstore promotion. So let me skip to the library marketing, because that's a really big one our members and publishers ask about a lot. So right now, unfortunately, libraries are having trouble because funding's being cut. Baker & Taylor recently announced they're going to be closing. They're a wholesaler, distributor, book ban. So it's tough. But I do think that the library market's a really good one for independent publishers. I've been to the American Library Association conference with IBPA to represent our members' books, and I'll tell you, those librarians are so delightful. They're so excited about the books. So can you tell us what are some really good ways to market your books to the library market?
Yeah, I mean, librarians are amazing people, and unfortunately, they're on the front lines of this sort of like war against diverse books. But really, they're incredible allies, and certainly for the books that I write, they've been amazing. And I think half of my list of the 2,500 people on my email list are librarians. I think the IBPA has some cool programs. We have a library outreach library. It's like email pitches of 15 different books. And the cool thing is you get a lead list of every librarian that clicked on your book to find out more. We run that. It's a really successful program. ALA, we scan the badges of every librarian that comes to the booth to check out the books on display, but also we have opportunities for publishers to come and give away copies of the authors can come and sign the books and give them to librarians. Again, we scan all those badges. You get the list of librarians to follow up with. It's a way to build the people that know about you. Librarians are walking around ALA with, wheeled luggage because they are so excited to get books from all the booths. And they really, really love independent publishing and are willing to give it a chance. So, and oftentimes they really want to see a trade review. For them, it is really important. And sometimes they need to have a trade review in order to acquire the book and bring it into their collection. I will also just say that metadata is really important for discoverability. It sounds scary, but it's really just all the information about your book behind the scenes that helps your book be discovered. It also includes the book cover and the title and the author information, but make sure you have your metadata optimized and don't just set it once and forget it. You need to go back into it pretty much probably every 6 months. I know publishers that do it quarterly to keep it updated, to tweak the keywords, to make sure that the book is having the best shot at being discovered.
Yeah, well, because also there are things like you were talking about being newsworthy. There are things that keep changing in the world, but hey, maybe for the good in terms of people are talking about the subject matter in your book. So there might be new search terms where everybody's using this term, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, let me add that to my description. Yeah, absolutely. So the bookstore market, I would actually say, is at the opposite end in terms of obviously bookstores. There's a lot of indie bookstores, and then there's kind of the bigger ones. But in terms of independent publishers, I definitely know our members have had issues getting their books into bookstores. Can you explain? Well, libraries has, again, is a good market, but bookstores might not be. Why is that the case?
Yeah, and just a note, libraries are a great place for people to discover books. And I don't know about other people listening, but I certainly have gotten books out from the library and then bought them because I love them so much and I wanted to own it. So bookstores are tricky. When you walk into pretty much any bookstore, 4 out of 5 of those books that you see in that store are going to be from corporate publishers. And then that other 5th book, that's probably going to be from an indie publisher. And, we have thousands of, I think what's over 3,300 publisher members of IBPA right now. So and not everybody is a member of IBPA yet. It's hard to get a spot in a bookstore. Because the bookstore, from their perspective, every inch of shelf space has to sort of pay for itself, right? They have to stay in business. So they're looking to see, is someone going to walk in off the street and ask for your book by title? Or is someone on their staff going to be so excited about your book that they're going to hand sell it to the next person that walks in the store? Or is there something about your book's subject matter, title, cover that is so compelling, they think it is going to sell itself, and they're going to turn the book face out, which is more real estate that they're giving up, because they think that someone walking by is going to pick the book up and be excited about it and look at it and then buy it. So the more of those 3 things you have, the better chance you have of a bookstore taking the risk on bringing your book into the store. Bookstores are also risk averse. And so the way our industry has been structured since World War II is that they can return the book if it doesn't sell, which is really, really an awkward and terrible thing to happen, right? Because it's like a sale to a bookstore is a conditional sale because it hasn't yet sold to a consumer. So it benefits no one to get your book into a bookstore if you have not also driven consumer demand for that book in a way that that book is pretty much, going to sell to a consumer. That is not how some of the big corporate publishers used to think of it. You talk to different publishers and you hear different amounts factored in for returns from bookstores. I've heard as high as 30%. I've heard as high as 50% back in the day. When they wanted to have like a giant stack of books in the bookstore to prove that this was an important book. But that is a really difficult business model. It's probably driven a lot by the celebrity of the publisher, of the author. I don't advise that. I think that that's a terrible idea. I've heard Barnes & Noble talk about how they want to get returns down to under 10%. You have to figure out what kind of returns work for you. I'm very risk averse in terms of as a publisher with the one book that I author published. I don't really like returns. It doesn't make me happy. So yeah, bookstores are a hard place to sell books. So you have to build the consumer demand and also start local. Like, what is your bookstore? Where do you buy your books? What bookstore do you buy your books? And then talk to them. Like, I have it set up with our local bookstore pages in Manhattan Beach, California, that like I sell all of my books. I send people there and say, if you want a signed copy, go to my local bookstore. And so they really like me and they carry my books. They don't carry all of them. I wish they did, but they carry the new stuff and that's cool.
Well, in terms of returns, my business model's been 99% returns. I want more books for me. So maybe that's a bad one. I do want to say, in terms of discoverability, the other thing that can be difficult is, bookstores get their books from specific places and they discover them from specific places. So your books should be in those places. Can you just quickly talk about things like Edelweiss in terms of if your books aren't there, then you're less likely to get them in bookstores?
Yeah, absolutely. Edelweiss is an online platform that I think it's 95% of the book trade is on in terms of stores, but they are not the entire market of stores. Microcosm is a great example of a publisher that they have an incredible, I think it's over 18,000 stores that they sell their books to. And a lot of those aren't bookstores. They're like specialty shops or like candle stores or, Wiccan stores, or they're just, different quirky stores that fit with the vibe of what Microcosm is publishing. And they're one of the fastest growing publishers in the US because they're really smart and they have a sales team and they're not relying on just bookstores. Look, bookstores are a pretty small percent of what most publishers sell to. With one really remarkable exception, most publishers I speak to tell me that bookstore sales, like in books, like physical, more brick and mortar stores, the sales is 10% or less of what they do. Mind you, bookstores, independent bookstores in particular, punch above their weight. I hear that expression, because they are tastemakers. And so they have an outsized impact and an outsized influence. I did talk to one publisher and it was more than 50%. I think it was 70% of her sales happen in bookstores, but she does literary fiction. And so she has built relationships with all these bookstores that love literary fiction. And she's built a brand as a publisher that is recognized. And so she's doing amazing business at bookstores, but that's her business model. That was her intent, and that's what she went after. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but be very thoughtful about what you're doing and have a business plan.
Yeah. Well, so we are getting low on time. I had planned for us to do pre-publication, launch, and post, and we're not going to get to everything. I'm sorry. So maybe we can have you back for some other time. But I do want to make sure there's crowdfunding I wanted to talk about. There's in-person events. Those are some things that we can talk about maybe next time. And we both have a lot to say about them. But I do want to make sure we've been talking a lot about selling books today. And unfortunately, because of book bans, it's actually hindered book sales. So you saw this. Indie publishers are struggling, and IBPA is always looking for ways to support indie publishers. So tell us about the We Are Stronger Than Censorship campaign that you helped create that is actually helpful to publishers during this terrible time.
Thanks, Christopher. Yeah, for those of you watching the video, I'm wearing a shirt that says "Strong Like a Reader." The O of strong is a do not enter sign with a red circle with a white horizontal bar in it that is opening up to reveal that white bar is a book being read. I'm in love with this logo. I think it's super cool. And we sell swag like this Strong Like a Reader shirt. The idea is that we are going to offset every book challenge by buying and donating 2 books. So when I bought this shirt, it included a $16 donation to buy 2 books to offset 1 book challenge. And to date, I think we've offset about 1,400 book challenges by being able to buy and donate 2,800 books. And we're buying those from independent publishers. The big myth about book banning is that it is about the books. It is not about the books. It is about the chilling effect. The intent is to create a chilling effect so librarians and teachers are afraid to bring in books for their collections, for their students, for their patrons, even though they know that there's a lot of demand and need for those books. They're afraid because they're being told any diversity is bad, and they shouldn't have any books that represent queerness or Black communities or history or any kind of underrepresented populations. And yet those people exist in our culture and are desperate for books. So this is a way to push back. It's trying to make the numbers work against the book banners. We have over 75 partners in our industry that have that are helping. And the idea is that we're not asking publishers to donate books. We are buying the books from publishers. So we have 20 different publishers, each have 1 book in the program for this inaugural year. We will be doing a new set of 10 different publishers for 2026, and we'll be opening up the call for that pretty soon. And yeah, it's something I'm proud of. And it actually came about because my own books, I have a series of books, nonfiction books about queer history with Learner. They have been challenged and banned multiple times. And through that, I met Dr. Tasselin Magnuson. She collects the data on book banning in America. And she also holds sort of like these safe space Zoom gatherings for authors in the position that I've been in, where my book is banned and challenged, and what to do. And she and I became friends, and we were saying like there needs to be some offense. It feels like all we're doing on the Freedom to Read side is defense. So we cooked up this idea. IBPA liked it, so it's a program of IBPA. We've partnered with Every Library Institute. They're a 501c3. So when you write a check for $160, it's tax deductible, and it buys 20 books to offset 10 book challenges. So yeah, it's We Are Stronger Than Censorship.org. I hope people check it out. Get a t-shirt. Oh, and Microcosm, incidentally, is launching a new line of stickers for the program. So for every 16 stickers we sell, we'll be able to buy and donate 2 books to offset 1 book challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible program. I know it's gotten a lot of attention. And like you said, I love the idea that instead of just being on defense, it's actually being active and assertive about saying, no, we're going to do something to help. So again, it's wearestrongerthancensorship.org. And Lee, some people might be wondering, you mentioned about the next year in terms of being one of those publishers that's included where their books were banned. How can people apply?
We'll be announcing it on IBPA's email list. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter, then please sign up for the IBPA newsletter. We'll get you into our stadium and then invite you up on stage.
Bringing it all back. Very good. So as I said, we actually have a bunch of things we were going to talk about, but I'm glad we took the time to go into depth on these other things. But I will say in-person events and crowdfunding are 2 really great ways to get your book out there. So perhaps sometime next year, we'll do another one of these to go more into those and all the post-publication things you can do. But Lee, again, I want to say it's grateful to you, all that you do to help indie publishers, all the conversations that you have. It's really important for them to understand that concept of, and I know from personal experience, the idea of like kind of hitting your head against the wall, being like, why am I not selling books? I'm doing this thing. And it wasn't until I understood that concept of, oh, well, it's because it's exposure. People now have heard of the book, but that does not mean immediately they're going to go, well, of course, now I need to buy one and buy another one for my friend. Like they don't want to just start right from scratch, from zero, and go, cool, here's my money. So thanks for sharing that concept.
Absolutely. And it's usually not doing one thing. It's usually the synergy between all the things you're doing that makes an impact.
Yeah, I thought I could post once on Facebook and I would sell 1 million books. That didn't happen, so that was disappointing. I do want to make sure people know we do have a lot of book marketing programs at IBPA. They're under the Programs and Products tab, and it's on IBPA-online.org. And also, as a quick FYI, people who are non-members can do these programs, but if you are a member, you get a $200 discount. And it's only $155 for an entire year of membership. And that comes with all the other things that are included in membership. So it only makes sense to join. But Lee, any last minute words of wisdom for people out there who are trying to, get their books out there?
Be kind to yourself. You're not going to get it all right instantly, and that's okay. You can sort of iterate and change as you go. I will share that, embarrassingly enough, even though my day job is helping publishers with their book marketing, when I did my crowdfunding thing, did I set aside a budget for book marketing? No, it didn't even occur to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So be kind to yourself. It's okay. And hopefully you're publishing stuff that you really care about, because it's hard to market a book. And if you care about what you're doing, it makes it all that much easier and sweeter when your book does land in the hands of the reader for whom it's going to mean so much.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much, Lee. And if everybody wants to listen to other episodes of this podcast, I hope you'll subscribe. And it's also on YouTube. You might be watching this right now. Make sure to subscribe to the channel there. It's the last Thursday of every month. Thank you so much for listening. And I really, truly hope you have the best of luck getting your book out there and selling books. Thank you, everyone.